We as a country must learn to produce what we consume, particularly when we can. For decades, we have pursued the wrong policies, exporting raw materials and exporting jobs. And when our president came on board, he promised the Nigerian people to transform the economy. This is a fundamental part of that transformation, where we're moving from a country that exports raw material, exports jobs, to a country that creates jobs, that adds values to its commodities, and in fact, that becomes a country that produces competitive products. That's the main reason for that. So it's mainly to diversify the economy and also to diversify the revenue sources. Now, the NEDE program is critical. Critical because we've had growth for many decades, but this growth has not been inclusive. When we say it's not inclusive, we mean that the bulk of the people working in Nigeria, bulk of the jobs actually created by the small and medium enterprises. And they form the bulk of the economy anywhere in the world today. If you look at Nigeria, based on the 2010 survey, there are about 17.25 MSMEs in the country, employing close to about 32 million people, which means that for us to have an inclusive growth, it's important that we must address the issues affecting the development of SMEs in the country. NEDEP is a new way, a transformational way of addressing the issues of the SMEs. So, for example, there are 4 or 5 major problems we have. One is access to affordable finance. Second is business support services. Third is about skills development. Fourth is about the infrastructure to make their products cheaper and competitive. Fifth is about having market access. NEDEP addresses all those problems. So the idea is that once we address those problems at that level, we will prepare them for the industrialization of the country because they will be part of the supply chain of the bigger companies to start with. We will have inclusive economic growth.
Okay, so is that why you have 3 agencies working together to make this a success?
It is why, because for the first time in the past, you had agencies, they never worked together. This ministry has about 16 or 17 agencies, and there are reasons why they put under this ministry. But each one of them had done their projects on a silo basis. So for the first time, we're bringing them together. So when we talk about the issues that we face in SME, access to finance should be resolved by BOI, business development services by SMEDA, the issues to do with skills development by ITF. So this program, and of course, making sure we have quality standards is by SON. So these institutions have come together, and we must give the MDs, the CEOs of these institutions, big credit for actually working together, coming together to actually implement NEDEP. So as a team, the ministry initiated it. The program is being implemented by the joint effort of Bank of Industry, who has come up with a very creative way of providing finance to the small and medium enterprises. And in fact, they've done so well in that sector, even leveraging on the capital they have today to have far much more money. They've also been involved in business support services to help the growth of that sector. Now, it's SMEDA now is working with them to make sure that they do not only train them on business that they have to start and run a business, how to write business plans that work, and also organize them in a way that they can even access finance from other sources. Make sure they have good corporate governance, make sure they have shared and common facilities. And of course, ITF is there to provide the skills. Now, ITF was providing skills, but nothing was happening. You must provide skills to people. You train people to work or to set up their businesses. So they train them. If they form them into cooperatives, if they cannot find paid employment, and BOI, the SMEDA helps them prepare the business plan and puts their men around them to help support them throughout the process. BOI assesses the business plan. Based on that, BOI lends to them. And the creative thing about BOI is that they found a way to do it, because we're doing it on a cooperative basis, that what has been a stumbling block for most SMEs, like collateral, all those things, that can be resolved by working together in a cooperative where they cross-guarantee each other. Also, they found other ways to reach out to the SMEs by working with about 4 microfinance institutions in the country so that the reach penetration is much more. And SMEDA now has state SME councils to work with each of the SMEs in the country. So it's a new way, a new delivery system that addresses most, if not all, of the issues of the small and medium enterprises.
Okay, aside from all this that you've told us, what other elements is contained in the NIRP?
What are the elements? The elements in NIRP, which is a Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan, there are 5 major elements. One is that it focuses on where Nigeria has competitive and comparative advantage, where Nigeria can be number 1 in Africa and over 10, be a top 10 player in the world. Secondly, it is holistic. First is strategic, second is holistic, in the sense that it looks across the value chain. So when I'm talking about developing the auto sector, for example, it's not just using tariff as we have done in the past. It's making sure that we have the skills, the industrial skills to develop it. It's making sure that the steel, the metal sector of the economy, there's a strong policy to support that because I need the steel for car assembly. It's making sure that petrochemicals and plastic work because I need that to support auto industry. It's making sure that the rubber to tire value chain works. So we look across the value chain. Secondly, it is linked with other parts of the country's development agenda. So, for example, it's very much linked to the agri transformation agenda because we need agri produce as raw materials for value addition. It's linked to the agenda followed by the Minister of Mines and Steel, where they focus on industrial minerals. It's linked to the Minister of Petroleum's gas revolution. We need a gas not only for power, but for gas industrialization. It's linked to the infrastructure plan of other ministries. It's linked to the plan of the Ministry of ICT in terms of innovation. So it's linked, so that way it's a lot easier because it's part of a big agenda. And then number 4 is that for the first time ever, it's not just about tariff, it's not just about little measures. We look across enablers, the factors of increased productivity. What will make our products competitive? If they're not competitive, they will lose money. Nobody will invest in that sector. And we've identified 7 areas where we must focus on and which NRP focuses on. One is access to finance. Second is about access infrastructure, power. The third is about skills development. Not in any order of importance, they're all very important. The fourth is about standards. The fifth is about investment climate. We have to work on that. The sixth is about local patronage. So it looks across areas where we must improve and the issues we must address to increase or improve our competitiveness as a country.
Okay, and what are the elements of NEDEP?
The elements of NEDEP, as I said, NEDEP is a new way of developing enterprise in the country. One great thing you can say about every Nigerian is that almost in our DNA, the average Nigerian is an entrepreneur. We know business, we can do business. We're good at it. But there are obstacles. And those obstacles, as I say, include access to finance, affordable finance, not just finance. It includes issues of business development support services. It includes skills development. We have many people that are educated, but we don't have the requisite skills for the economy itself. It includes helping them to have access to markets. It includes organizing them, moving them from informal to the formal sector. These are all the areas that NEDEP addresses.
Okay. On the 11th of February, the President will be formally launching NIRP and NEDEP, which means the two are already in existence. What are the early successes of the respective plan and program? Okay,
I think we have been extremely successful so far. In fact, beyond our own expectations so far. You may recall that in 2012, towards 2012, the new Sugar Master Plan was approved. And as a result of the Sugar Master Plan, the idea was that over a 10-year period, we'll generate about 117,000 jobs, 411 megawatts of power, have capacity of about 1.7 million in terms of sugar production, foreign exchange savings. But in fact, since the implementation, we've seen pipeline investment come into the sector of about $3 billion, led by local investors. Secondly, In fact, because of the policy, one of the investors, for example, in their sugar master plan, they're going to set up sugarcane plantation in 6 states in the northern part of Nigeria. They will employ 180,000 people in 4 years, compared to the plan that was 117 in 10 years. This is 180,000 jobs in 4 years. Now, we have other investors that have come to the sector, and by next week, I'll be visiting the plantations to start with. Now, if you look at the auto policy, which was only announced on the 2nd of October, now on the 9th of October, within a week, Nissan announced that it was coming to Nigeria to partner and set up Nissan plants in the country. And only recently at the Davos, the president of Nissan actually met with the president and reassured him that they were on target. And in fact, the first Nissan cars will be produced in the country in April. Then we have all the likes, the dream of any country setting up this policy. The dream, all the OEMs looking at the country. Now we have commitments now. I think Hyundai of South Korea is signing in. And of course, I think have shipped their SKDs. We have the like Volkswagen looking at all their products in the country. We have the likes of Toyota looking at the policy. They will come up with a plan by the end of March. We have the likes of Honda carrying out their due diligence. We have the likes of Tata. If you look at Tata, for example, Tata is the most celebrated auto players in Europe today. In UK, for example, they employ 85,000 people in their auto business. They're the most celebrated people investor in the United Kingdom. They are coming here. I met with them about 3-4 weeks ago. Then if you look at Ashok Leyland, and if you look at Innocent, our celebrated local manufacturer, who was actually assisted, brought to this level by Bank of Industry. I recall meeting with him and said, look, what's the secret of your success? He told me there were 2 things. One is the support he has received from his governor, the governor of Anambra State, Governor Peter Obi, in terms of local patronage, in terms of even constructing roads to his factory. But the other has been BOI, by far. Because without BOI, it would not be in existence today. The banks were just not able to set up and run a commercially viable business based on the existing loans from the commercial banks. BOI came in, bailed him out. Today, I'm delighted to say that Innocent employs close to about 7,000 people. I'm delighted also to say that the car driving Abuja, the SUV, is actually produced by Innocent. Innocent today has signed in with another two Chinese investors. He has worked with for the past 14 years that are coming to help partner him in producing his buses and cars in the country. So it is something we should be very proud of and very supportive of.
Okay, you just mentioned...
These are just 2 examples of the successes we have recorded.
Okay, you mentioned examples in the auto, but you've not mentioned, examples in the sugar. Okay, can you just mention maybe 1 or 2?
No, if you look at sugar, if you look at flour mills, for example, they're a big investor in this country in so many sectors. They were with me yesterday, for example, the Sunte sugar plantation. When you go there and visiting there probably sometime next month or so, you'll be proud of what they have done in the country. They're one example. We have some Brazilian investors that are partnering with local people. We have some local investors in Adamawa, not in Adamawa, in one of the states, northern parts of the country, already to make progress. And of course, you have the players in the sugar sector already, existing one like Bua and Dangote.
Considering the successes that have been recorded in the cement industry, which has been significantly attributed to well-articulated and successful favorable policies, how will the government... considering the successes that have been recorded in the cement industry, how will government ensure the successful implementation of NIRP, NEDEP, and the auto policy and the sugar master plan?
We have been extremely, and I stress the word extremely, successful in the cement sector, based on government policy. I am proud to say that a country that actually produced 2 million metric tons in cement in 2002, today has a capacity to produce 28.5 million metric tons, and that for the first time ever in the history of Nigeria, Nigeria exported cement out of Nigeria in 2013. I'm also delighted to say that the expectation is that by the end of this year, we should have capacity of about 39 million metric tons. And we should have one of, if not the largest, cement plantation in the world. That is the progress we have made in cement. That is what we want to replicate in all these other 10 sectors or 15 sectors we have identified. Where we can be, we should, by right, become number one, easily in Africa and top 10 globally. Your question is, what is the secret to the success of that? Policy is difficult to do. But the most important thing about policy, what's going to be different, is that our policy today, as I say, is holistic. It's not just about looking at, I give an example, automobile only. It's not just about producing cars. I want to produce spare parts. I want to be part of the global value chain where I supply parts to other parts of the economy, other parts of the world. And it's not just looking, it's looking at areas of competitiveness, areas of affordable finance, areas of power, areas of skills. All those areas that identify the 7 areas, that makes what we're going to do very different from what we have done in the past. But the most difficult thing about policy is implementation and sustainability. That is what we did so well with cement. And what we're putting in place here is almost like institutionalizing it, putting the implementation in the hands of the private sector and government, not government only, and making sure that our policies are backed by law or close to law. The sectorial policies are backed by law or by something similar to that to ensure sustainability. Those are the things. Once we do those, have a strong implementation plan, and what we're doing with that is making sure that it is driven not only by the private and public sector, but by institutions. We must institutionalize it and make sure that institutions actually drive it. And secondly, as I say, the sectorial policies we hope will be backed by law or by something similar. That will ensure the sustainability.
Sir, when we talk to you, when we see you, you exude everything Nigeria. You're so confident that Nigeria has that potential. Nigeria will attain that potential. How would you describe your hopes and vision, about the country?
I was convinced before I came to government that Nigeria can do it. Having been in government and having been privileged to serve, first of all, as Minister of Finance, and today to serve as the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, I have seen what I did not even see before. And today, I am far more excited about the country. We are naturally endowed. We are a privileged country. The biggest asset a Nigerian has today is his green passport. I tell my nieces that every day, my children that. It's the biggest asset because I see a bright future for the country. We have all the assets. We have the people. And all it takes is just a manager to manage those resources and deliver high risk-adjusted returns to his shareholders, who are Nigerians.
What kind of country would you want to leave for our children?
A country that fulfills its great potentials, that moves from a poor to a rich nation through industrialization and development. A country that actually moves away from being a poor, as I say, a poor to a rich nation, but a country that realizes its great potential and is counted as one of the many in the committee of the strong economies in the world.
If you were to describe Nigeria in your own words, how would you describe Nigeria?
As I've always said, it's a country is a dream for any investor. It's a dream for any investor. It is a nation destined for a great and bright future.
Thank you very much.